All right, so we're live, are we? Okay, good. So hello, everybody. My name is Ben Coleman. I'm the Deputy Leader of the Council. I'm afraid the Leader of the Council can't be with us today, so I'll be conducting the meeting, and welcome all of you to the Cabinet meeting. I've got a few housekeeping points to note. If the fire alarm sounds, either continuously or intermittently, I will adjourn the meeting. And then could you please leave the meeting, if that happens, in an orderly fashion by the nearest exit, which is in the lift lobby and down the stairs. And don't use the lifts, don't stay behind to collect personal belongings. And officers will direct you to the assembly point in Shortlands Road. If you can't use the stairs, officers will escort you to a refuge area and they'll wait with you for further instructions. Anybody who needs to know, this toilets are located in the lift lobby, and that's the housekeeping. So now I'd like to confirm the members of the Cabinet who are present and will be voting. And when I call your name, if you could just indicate your presence using your microphones. So the Cabinet Member for Children and Education, that's Councillor Alex Sanderson.
Present.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Civic Renewal, Councillor Bora Kwan.
Present.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Ecology, Councillor Wesley Harcourt.
Also present.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for the Economy, Councillor Andrew Jones.
Good evening.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform, Councillor Rowan Ree.
Present.
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness, Councillor Francis Ume.
Hello. Present.
Thank you. I'm afraid that Councillor Member for Public Realm, Sharon Holder, sends her apologies. And then we have the Councillor Member, the Cabinet Member for Social Inclusion and Community Safety, Councillor Rebecca Harvey.
Present.
Thank you very much. Okay. Just to note that we've got a couple of ex officio members who are present, but actually I'm not sure we do. I was going to say they might be with us, but I don't see them in the room. So that's fine. We don't have any ex officio members present. And we have officers in attendance, among whom are Sharon Lee, the Chief Executive, good to see you, and Grant Degg, the Assistant Director for Legal. So thank you very much. So to the agenda. I'm looking at the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 5th of June, 2023. Are those agreed? Okay, thank you very much. And as I noted, under apologies for absence, we have apologies from Councillor Sharon Holder and also from Councillor Stephen Cohen. Are there any declarations of interest? Good, okay. So that brings us to the first item, which is the consideration of the petition on Caxton Village W12 parking problems. And we have a petition, and I'm just going to run through the process. Who's going to be leading on the petition? Great, cool. Okay, thank you. You, Michael Rainsford. Yeah, excellent. Sorry, Mike, we've not met before. Nice to meet you. I see. So I'll just run through the sort of the rules of how these things work. You get 5 minutes to address the meeting, up to 5 minutes. You don't have to have 5 minutes, up to you. And then Cabinet members get up to 10 minutes to ask questions, and they may or may not want to use that. And then I may ask officers of the council to comment on the petition, and then we have up to 30 minutes to talk about the petition. Again, we may wish or not wish to use that time. So why don't you come present it, please? And thanks very much for taking the trouble to do it.
You hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, so thanks for having me. So I'm a member of the elected management committee of the Caxton Village Tenant and Resident Association, also known as CVTRA. The TRA represents over 400 households nestled between Shepherd's Bush Green to the south, Westfield London to the north, and Shepherd's Bush TfL Underground Station to the southeast. We held a very active petition amongst the households in this area last month, attaining 272 signatures. A figure we believe indicates strong and consistent support for the matter that is impacting our day-to-day lives. The petition called for 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-per-week resident and local business permit parking only, blue badge parking for permit holders only, and an increase in the time period for enforcement to support these greater conditions. Our neighbouring streets include McFarlane Road, which benefits from permit holder only parking from 9 AM to 10 PM and blue badge use for permit holders only. This has been the case for many years, and whilst this works well during enforced hours, we understand people who live there highlight the issues return at 10 PM in full force, hence why going for greater restrictions. It has been positive to see the level of survey activity taking place on our streets these last few days. And we understand from speaking to those carrying out the surveys that they'll continue for the coming days as well. One of the surveyors, actually this afternoon, discussing blue badge use, said, "I've never seen anything like this." They also referred to having historically only seen 6 cars in a row with a blue badge until today. So at the very least, we are home to personal bests being set in our streets. A fellow member of CVTRA counted 22 blue badges just on one street this afternoon, and I myself counted 26 badges to 13 against in favour of blue badges. And that was just on Bulwer Street alone, which is the through road onto Wood Lane. Whilst I'm not looking to show you the videos, we have many. So if you would like them in follow-up, we're welcome. We're happy to share them. Having discussed at length with Westfield London, they have confirmed that blue badge parking is available in all 3 main car parking locations, and blue badge holders who validate their ticket benefit from 4 hours of free parking 7 days per week. In the streets of Caxton Village, blue badge parking does not require validation and is not time limited. It is our belief this activity is due to those using Westfield needing to validate their ticket and blue badge in person. Should it be used fraudulently, there would be no ticket validation and no free parking. Caxton Village, not time limited and without the need to validate, is clearly the safer bet. Beyond blue badge parking issues, our location results in a high volume of motor vehicles parking in our streets to visit the shops, fast food outlets and Shepherd's Green. The problem is significantly amplified by events taking place on the Green, like when the recent Circus Extreme took place, as well as the George Irvine Fun Fairs. Visitors to local fast food outlets park, often idle, play loud music, leave their leftover food and packaging in our streets before driving off. This is a particular issue after 10 p.m, so it's unfortunate to hear from those surveying our streets these last few days that their shift finishes at 9 p.m. It is far too common for permit holders who pay their annual fees to come home from the school run or work or a weekend away and not be able to park not only on our streets, but even within 100 meters of it. Doing this with luggage, carrying young children is far from ideal. It is positive to read, however, in the briefing document, the comment from Hinesh Mehta, Assistant Director of Climate Change, who essentially said, making these changes would result in less vehicles parking and sat idling on those streets, helping to reduce emission levels and improve air quality, both key environmental targets the council is currently focused on, are part of our clean air neighbourhood strategy. So we believe that permit holder only parking, inclusive of blue badge changes, will materially benefit those living and working in the area who each year pay for their permits. Beyond this, we believe the benefits of less traffic, congestion, idling, litter, air pollution and noise are significant and in line with the council's Clean Air Neighbourhoods initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the proposal is therefore you're requesting the petition to increase the parking restrictions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no blue badge parking except for resident visitor parking, resident visitor parking permit holders, and increase the resource of the time period for enforcement controls.
That's correct.
Right. Okay. Just want to be absolutely sure. So I'm going to I'm going to be inviting, just so the cabinet knows, I'm going to be inviting Ram to make a comment at some point. Would you like to hear from him as well? And then we could ask questions on both the petition speaker and the officer together. Ram, if you'd like to introduce yourself and give some thoughts on this so we can have a bit of a chat.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name's Bram Kant. I'm the Strategic Director of Environment at Hammersmith Fulham Council. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for the petition. Generally, we're in support of what they're saying. So what we're saying is that we should do a parking stress survey. That will involve doing survey sometimes all through the night. It gives us an idea of the split between the parking for the residents and their visitors and also people visiting the area. And based on that, we will decide what consultation would be appropriate in terms of hours, rather than what's being proposed by the petitioners, which is a 24/7, but we would let the data decide what is the appropriate consultation hours. Yeah.
So thank you for that. Would anyone like to ask any questions? Andrew, Councillor Jones.
Thanks. Just actually sort of within the detail of it, you mentioned McFarlane Road, of which I'm very familiar. I mean, could you just elaborate a bit more why you think, so obviously you do think that 10 o'clock is not long enough for McFarlane, but could you just elaborate what's happening after 10 o'clock or why you feel that
Yeah,
is there? Is it blue badge or is it other things?
I guess predominantly the challenge post 10 p.m. is the nighttime economy, and our streets are, as hopefully the surveys will show, are peppered with delivery vehicles, idling Uber taxi drivers. Maybe they're looking to pick up a ride on Uxbridge or from Westfield. People getting takeaway food from outlets on Shepherd's Green, eating it in their cars with their engines on or off. And then, of course, driving off, people parking, playing loud music, all of the above, really. We've had many issues in the local area. I think some people around this table are aware of that. But obviously, that's a major issue. And you know, coming home at midnight with the recent issues, looking to park your car, not being able to park on your street is quite worrying for many residents who don't feel as safe as they should do. And so, speaking for our streets, not McFarlane, that's the reason why we want the measures to go beyond 10 p.m.
Thanks.
Councillor Jones, anyone else like to ask? Yes, please. Councillor Harcourt.
Thank you, Chair. Quick question, really. It's about the blue badge parking. Do you have any information about how long people are parking there for? Is it, what I'm trying to get at is it people using Westfield, just parking for a few minutes and popping in, doing some shopping, or is it people parking and then going off into the city, shall we say, via the tube for the day of work? Do you have any evidence on that? Because I am aware that it can be a problem in other places.
I think it's I can't say for certain. I think anecdotally, we see blue badge dominating certain streets in Caxton Village all day long. It's quite often the case, like this afternoon, we had maybe 7 or 8 different residents on a shared group commenting on their own counts, just walking down the streets. It's typically the case that one car leaves, another one enters, and it's another blue badge that's turned up. So I think it's going to be a mix of short stay and longer stay. Of course, one of the challenges, and we've been speaking to Westfield, is the 4-hour limitation at Westfield versus the unlimited parking in Caxton. However, that seems besides the point, because we can't think of a practical reason why a genuine blue badge user would choose to park, if they're going to Westfield, would choose to park on our streets that are further away than in Westfield itself.
You've got motorcycle, haven't you? Restrictions on at present as well. Is that working all right?
There's certainly been a significant level of progress made since the motorcycle permit restrictions came in place. It doesn't change the fact that it's still present, and we're also burdened by other modes of transport which are not captured by that, such as Uber or other taxi drivers using our streets to wait for their next piece of business.
That's dealt with one of the issues, which was wasn't it the sort of delivery type of motorcycle people and the associated antisocial behaviour with that. So this is really all to do with actual vehicles and mainly visitors to Westfield. And as you say,
Westfield and Shepherd's Bush Green.
Events on the green. Yeah.
Shepherd's Bush Green events or otherwise. Obviously, we don't know the impact of Shepherd's Bush Green Underground TfL station being there. However, local residents have observed significant parking after hours. I think it is linked to your question, actually, around post 10 p.m. The significant number of vehicles that are parking on our streets for late night working. It'd be good to understand whether they're permit holders or not, but that's also significant. I think I'd make the point as well when you mention the motorcycles using our streets. A recent survey placed the cables on the road to the east of the Bulwer-Aldine junction. The challenge with that is what it didn't pick up, and certainly doesn't pick up, is the sheer level of cars or motor vehicles coming down Aldine Street, turning left onto Bulwer Street to go onto Wood Lane. That's not been picked up as far as I understand, but I'd appreciate that data should it be available. There's obviously no left turn at the corner of Shepherd's Bush Green, so the way to get to Wood Lane from Uxbridge Road is down Aldine Street, down Bulwer Street, and onto Wood Lane. So that's obviously an issue. We believe that all of these issues are largely connected. We can't change the fact that we're between the Green and Westfield, but what we're looking to do is improve the parking conditions.
Councillor Harvey.
Hi. With the cars that are parking at night time, have you observed if the blue badge holders as well after 10 o'clock at night?
I personally haven't observed that. It would be good for I'm not sure who's currently surveying our streets in the last few days and this week, but the activity has increased significantly. What we did understand from speaking to one of them yesterday was that shift finished at 9 p.m. So unfortunately, that particular survey wouldn't be picking up that activity, but we would certainly appreciate those times to be surveyed.
A question for Bram, really. Can we look at making sure that there are surveys taking place after 9 p.m. so it picks up the issues that have just been raised?
Yes, definitely. That's what we should be doing. We'll normally do one snapshot in the middle of the night. It gives you an indication of how many residents are actually parking in the area. The other thing we need to be aware of is that we need to make sure there's enough spaces for all resident parking compared with the number of bays available. So if you extend hours, you have to be quite mindful of that. So.
I have a question, if you don't mind. I think it's really, obviously you're having some difficult issues and we've already trying to help you with them. And there's obviously more that you want the council to do, and that's entirely proper. And the decision, what we have to do has to be based on the evidence. And so we need to make sure, and you would want to make sure that we're collecting the evidence properly, because it strengthens the whole case for the action that we take. And Bram, you talk about, you recommend to the Cabinet that we complete a parking stress survey exercise to get the necessary data on parking stress and look at the split between the resident and visitor parking in the area. And you also recommend that we undertake a parking consultation of residents and that we seek views on making changes to the parking hours of control. Can I ask one other thing, which it strikes me from the petition, which is, and the whole point about the blue badges. I mean, blue badges are wonderful things. If people who need blue badges, it's fantastic that they exist and they should be able to have them. Equally, it's dreadful if anybody abuses the possibility to have a blue badge. And I noticed that we have employed some plainclothes officers to try and address this. Is there more that we could do for a period of time to try and quantify the nature of the problem? Because we're believing at the moment the residents are, from the wording of the petition, doing most of the policing of this, and there's inevitably Westfield validates the blue badge. The implication is here Westfield validates it, and that's why people aren't, as Mr. Rainsford said, that's why people aren't going to Westfield, they're doing it here. Can we do more effective surveying, plainclothes investigation of that?
Yeah, thank you. In terms of blue badge fraud, it is a challenging enforcement action because there's no requirement. For example, the driver can be perfectly normal, but they have a passenger which is actually, got the mobility issues, etc. And so therefore, it is something we can look at, but it is difficult to actually do because of that reason. Because
when it talks here about in the petition, the free parking, in the argumentation for the petition, that free parking is only granted at Westfield upon validation of the blue badge from within Westfield London, upon validation. When we, as council officers rather, or plainclothes or otherwise, see a blue badge, are they able to employ the same validation as Westfield on the spot?
We should be able to carry out that validation, but we might not be able to do it on the spot, but the technology will need to touch base with the database. Yeah. And
that's helpful, because even if it's not on the spot, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get some insight into really whether this is as significant a problem as it appears to be. Yes, Mr. Rainsford.
Having spoken to some of these plainclothes officers, it's very clear that with the current level of issues, it would be completely uneconomic to try and police the number of blue badge permits that are sitting on our streets at any one point in time. 26 on one street, there's 6 streets, so there could be over 100 vehicles. The challenge is observation requires somebody to be entering or exiting their car at that point in time. We understand that there's general support that should these measures come in place, the deterrent itself of blue badge permit holders only, for example, would lessen the load, lessen the cost of administering this checking of fraud or otherwise. But at the moment, the all day, every day volume of cars is making that very challenging.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask officers if they could, that would notwithstanding, I would like to ask officers if you simply, you get officers walking down the road and taking photo, looking at 24 cars with blue badges and verifying those when you're back at the ranch. If you do that several times, it will enable a picture to be built up of how genuine these are or not. And I think it's important that we start to get some proper, I very much appreciate what the residents have been doing in trying to build a picture for us, but I think it's important that we also build a proper evidence base for what's happening.
Yeah, just to assure the Cabinet, we would need to do a full assessment. And the reason for that is because under the public sector equality duty, there are implications for this because blue badges across London can park in any bays free of charge, anywhere, and they've got for a certain number of hours on a yellow line where there's no loading restriction. So it's not as straightforward as it first seemed. There are some parts of London where there is a provision, yes, only for residents and their visitors, etc.
That's great. I'm not going to pursue this much further. We just want to find if they're fraudulent. That's all. That's all.
We can do that.
That's all.
Regarding the consultation, there is one taking place right now, as we understand, across the whole of the borough, which is over halfway through. And what we're looking to do is not sort of repeat those exercises, having received 272 sort of consistent votes in favour of this. I guess I'd be surprised if the consultation that's sort of sitting alongside it, albeit disconnected, would achieve the same level of uptake. Having read the questions in the consultation, the challenge is they don't go far enough to querying the perspectives of residents in this manner. Can I just ask one quick question? Are there surveys taking place this week part of your initiative right now?
No, we will carry on doing the surveys until we got all the information. So it's important that we collect all the data before we make any assessments.
So you're continuing doing perhaps we could continue to look at, you're doing the consultation at the moment, and are you intending the broader consultation Mr. Rainsford refers to your undertaking, and then if needed, you would propose to do further consultation in this specific area if it was necessary?
Yeah, that's right. That's a requirement under the law. We have to actually do a public consultation under the traffic management order. So
let's see what it would have to be on top of the existing consultation, and there would be so you might have to be asked things twice. Yeah, good. Well, look, thank you very much. If anyone had any more questions, really appreciate you coming. Really sorry about what you're going through. Would anyone like to raise any more points? Are you happy to move to I'd like to see those all in favour of the paper. We all agree the paper? Yeah, agree the paper. Okay. Thank you. Okay, very interesting. Good. So we've agreed the recommendations there. So we're going to move to the quite a different subject, which is the insurance tender for 2024 to 2029. Councillor Ree, as Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform, would you like to introduce the report?
Yeah, of course. This is the procurement strategy for purchasing insurance services across the council. Obviously, the council needs to purchase a large number of complex and often quite niche insurance services to cover various risks that we face. And the strategy sets out how we're going to do that in a cost-effective way that also ensures we have an appropriate level of coverage.
Thank you. Are the recommendations in the report agreed? Agreed. Okay, thank you very much. Good. Okay, and that takes us to the interesting subject, travel care minibus procurement strategy. And Councillor Alexander, since the Cabinet Member for Children Education, would you like to present this report?
Thank you, Deputy Leader. This report is just to approve and kickstart the procurement process to look at our travel care minibus services. The current contract expires in July 2024, so we need to find a new provider, we need to renew or find a new provider for that period.
Any questions to ask on this? I mean, this is one of the, I have to say, this is one of the issues that's occupied, I know you greatly, and indeed me greatly, and us all greatly when we came in, took power in 2014, when under the tri-borough arrangements, there was the most appalling under our predecessor's situation in place where tube-fed children were left overheating and autistic kids were unable to run into the streets. So the seriousness with which we've addressed this ever since then, and which this report addresses it, to ensure that this sort of thing can never happen again, I think is exemplary. So, managers, are we all happy to agree this report? Yes. Thank you very much. Good. Well, that just leaves for me to ask you to note the forward plan of key decisions. Noted? Noted. Very good. And we don't have any exempt elements, so I'm very happy to bring this Cabinet meeting to an end. Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you.